Hey everybody. Welcome to EVERNET Reviews. My name is Eric Buhrendorf. I'm the CEO of EVERNET Consulting. We're America's favorite IT company. Today we are joined by Dr. Rania from Oryx Software. She's going to talk about Oryx Software and Oryx Cloud Dental, and hopefully we'll see a great product demonstration and hear about what she has to offer. How's it going, Dr. Rania?
Great. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. This is a new project of ours. We've had a pretty good participation so far from a lot of vendors. So EVERNET Reviews is just going to be a YouTube channel of products that we think that are relevant to our clients. And we have a pretty big dental practice vertical. So we have a lot of dental practices that we support. So we saw you in the space and we reached out, and we thank you for be willing to join us in this and show us what you have. So let's see, to get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and then kind of go into Oryx Software as a company, I suppose, and then tell us about your product and then your customer.
Oh, yeah, sure. So I'm Rania Saleh. I'm a dentist by training. I had a couple of practices for a number of years. And then I got pregnant with twins. I had associates. My practice was growing and peaking, and it started going downhill. And it was so shocking to me because I had very, very good associates that did amazing treatment. And I couldn't figure out what was going on. And what I realized is we didn't have very good systems created. Not everyone was doing the exact same exam, the exact same treatment plan. And we weren't offering the patients what we were offering when I was in the practice. So I started having the associates next to me in my hospital bed and going over every treatment plan, every patient that they saw. Why were they seen that way? Why did we miss this? Why didn't we take these radiographs? And then I realized that most software that we have on the market had a good component to build the patients, to book the appointment, but nothing that would guide the clinician to have a consistently great examination every time. And this is where the idea of Oryx started.
Wow! So you're trying to get a hold of standardizing the service and the care, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's a really important thing for a service. Definitely, especially a medical practice service, right?
Absolutely.
So that's cool. So from that need to see of standardizing the care, you thought that you could solve that problem through software?
Yeah, I started creating a software for my own practice. So to give you a little background, my husband is a software engineer. He was running a healthcare company that got acquired at around that time, and looking at their interactions with the patients and how their user interface looked, I'm like, how come in dentistry everything looks so old? And I'm like, can you create something for my practice to give the patient a better experience? And it started that way, as just a small product for my practice, a way for me to organize the exam, to get my associates on the same page. Once we got to that, a lot of my friends, colleagues started asking me if I could share that with them. And then we're like, okay, we could make it into a software that everyone can benefit from.
So who's the typical user of the software? Is it the practice administrators, the associates, or is there a client component to it as well, a client-facing component?
So yeah, it's divided into three main categories. One is the patient engagement, and we were very big on the patient experience. And giving the patient a really nice flow where the patient understands what's going on, where they're much more engaged with the practice. I mean, you know that patients today are very different from the patient 10 or 15 years ago. Everyone is much more aware about their healthcare. They want more information. They're Googling what you're telling them. So it has to be a totally different experience. And then there's the part where the dentist has all the information that they need to do a great exam, and for the practice to flow the way they want, and an administrative part that has a lot of checklists. And you'll see I'm a big fan of checklists. And this would systemize the work of the front desk. Like before the patient comes in, this is what we need to do. If you do all of this, the appointment turns green. So, we're ready to see that patient. Post appointment, this is everything that needs to be done. So I don't have anyone leaving and we're like, oh, we forgot to collect the payment. We forgot to schedule the next appointment.
So you're really managing kind of from intake to administration to service and to client to and engaging and kind of offering that transparency and with the patient as well.
Yeah, you can say that. And if you look at practices, like there's always the disconnect between the front and the back. And you see it in a lot of practices where people are saying, no, it's the back team that did this. Oh, the front did not do that. So that communication make it a really nice flow. And because the system talks to each other, you don't have someone peeking in the room and asking you, what are we doing next? They know automatically what's happening next to that patient. Or you don't have someone that needs to walk the patient to the front to let them know what happened in the back. It's all connected.
So would you say that you're a practice management software, or do you augment a typical practice management software, or do you kind of work in concert with that kind of typical paradigm?
So someone told me recently it's an insult to call your software a practice management software because it does a lot more. But in a way, yes, we are a practice management software where we do the online scheduling, the insurance, everything that you typically get from your typical software. But you add on top of that all the clinical components and all the extra patient engagement.
And billing included?
Yeah, of course, insurance, excellent. All of it.
Wow, excellent.
It's truly the only software you need to run the practice.
So who would you and this is all my guests' least favorite question because nobody ever wants to mention their competitors by name, but if you're so inclined, who would you typically say you compete with?
So I think our biggest competitor is the status quo, like people that are still on older on-premise.
Very diplomatic answer of you. The status quo is your competition. I love it.
Like every on-premise software is a competitor because for most people, it's not really the software, it's the change. There is the biggest hurdle. Like, I've been doing so well on Dentrix for X many years. Why would I need to move to a cloud?
Okay.
And actually, we're seeing also people moving from other cloud software to us. So we're not only seeing on-premise to cloud, we're also seeing cloud to cloud because of the patient engagement and the clinical part.
So you mentioned the cloud, and cloud is everyone's favorite buzzword over the last 10 years. So you are cloud born, or did you originate as a Windows or PC-based kind of classic software, or are you a cloud born?
Cloud-born software. So
all browser driven, open in a browser, device agnostic, that sort of thing.
Exactly.
Excellent. Okay, great. So let's see. I have just a workflow here. So do you have a demonstration or something that you want to share with us today specifically? Maybe we can take a look at the product or.
Yeah, I think it's a great idea. I'll show you the product, and I'm sure you'll have a lot more questions once you see it. And feel free to stop me as I'm going through it if you have comments or questions.
Okay, sounds good. Let's see what you have.
So as we just said, Oryx is a cloud practice management software, and it has everything you need to run a practice. When I said that the competition is the status quo, because a lot of time users don't know how much they're paying for all the services. So they're not really looking, what am I paying for scheduling, for reminders, for patient engagement, if I have a recall management system, for my image acquisition, for my image storage. All of it is included into Oryx. So it's truly the only software that you need to run your practice. It runs on Mac and PC. Even our imaging software runs on a Mac, and it's a huge selling point for a lot of the newer practices, younger dentists. They like to run it. Unfortunately, not on all sensors go on a Mac. So for people that choose that route, they need to be aware of that.
Wow. So you really do bundle it all. I see why they say that it would be an insult to call you a practice management software.
Yes. So it is everything you need to run the practice. And as I mentioned, all the components communicate really well together. So from the patient portal where the patient complete their forms online, on the communication happens with the patient on that portal. If you need them to prepay for an appointment, to pay post an appointment, share the post-op instructions, it's one place to go for a patient or for a family. Patients can book their appointment online. Lots of flexibility in there on what you want to show. Virtual chair, virtual consults, all of that is all embedded into Oryx. Um, and then this feature is very loved by all the office managers because all the communication happens in one place. So, these days we have a bit of a turnover. You can track all the communication. If you see the little bot right here, you know that it was something sent by Oryx bot, an automated message, or if you texted back and forth with the patient.
So
Uh,
so let me just clarify. So the patient experience, is that a native app on the mobile device, or is that also in the mobile browser?
It's in the browser,
Okay. So that
and
keeps your
they
development
have a
costs under
login,
control.
or they can use like a code every time they're logging in. But this is to just text back and forth with the patient.
Oh, so
Um,
that's a text message. Is that a text message on the site, or are you sending an SMS text message to the patient's mobile,
so
or both, or either?
Both, actually. So
Oh,
from
okay.
here, you can send them an email to complete certain forms, or an SMS to complete to log into their portal to make a payment, or to make a payment directly on their phone. So you
And
have this ability, or to for a review request. So it shows you on the automated messages that went, and everything that you sent, and if it was delivered, if the patient opened it, if they clicked on the link. So if you request a
so
payment and the patient says, I never saw it, you would know that they actually
right,
clicked.
right. So what we're seeing here on your presentation is that the practice administration side of the house?
Correct.
Okay, so the staffer actually sees the mode. It looks like the mode of communication is even articulated, so you can see if it was a text, or if you can see if it was an email. So that's what the staffer at the practice would be using to communicate.
Absolutely. And it shows you the user that sent a specific text. So you know that, Mary texted you on that day. We sent you an
So
email
you have the
about this. We
accountability.
did that.
Excellent.
You got your post op instructions. And we've actually had to use this a few times now in court for some of our
Oh, wow.
users where they had. So it's really also great from a medical legal
For the
perspective.
accountability aspect of it, for sure.
Because the dentist was saying that we tried to reach that patient, we
Right,
did all this communication,
right.
and the patient said no. So they showed that the patient actually opened that message and clicked on it. um,
Excellent, excellent. So, and then, of
so yeah.
course, on the patient side of this experience, does it look the same or similar? They'll be able to see a history of their communications.
So if it's an SMS, they have the office number, so it's constantly from the office. They would see everything they got from the office. When they go to their portal, it looks a bit different. So they have a tab where they would see on the post-operative instruction, a tab where to update their forms, what they have as far as forms, a tab for on the consent. So you can ask the patient ahead of time to sign the consent at home, or in the office, you can give them a tablet and they could sign their consents.
Excellent,
Um,
excellent. And as your I don't mean to drag us, but I find this fascinating. I hope you don't mind. Does your consent mechanism is probably adaptable? So when things like COVID come up, there you can easily just boot up another consent form or some sort of acknowledgement, policy acknowledgement like COVID.
Yeah, absolutely. So one great thing about Oryx is it comes preloaded with so much information. Like all the consent forms you can imagine are already pre-built into the system. And we partner with the COI Center. So we have an evidence-based institution backing us scientifically. But let's say this is not really a great consent form for you, or you want a different consent form for your root canal. You can create that and you can embed it as part of your workflow. So when you treatment plan a crown, the software automatically creates all the consent
Right.
forms for your
Right.
crowns with the tooth number, um, and
Right.
it's ready for you. And this is what I was saying about flows and communication. You don't have to remember every time, oh, it's an extraction, I want the consent. You create your
Right.
treatment plan, it's all done for you.
Right. I get it. Okay. Okay. Good. All right. What else?
So the forms are super engaging. When we surveyed patients, they said that they thought the office is more technologically advanced and they had more trust in the dentist. And that's before visiting the practice. Uh, it's always difficult to get patients to complete the forms, and we made them in a way that makes them understand, like, do you clench your teeth or grind? And it shows you someone grinding their teeth. So you get what we mean. Once we moved from the yes no answers to these forms, we saw a much higher completion and a much higher satisfaction.
With that style of uh that you mean with that graphic asset to kind
Right.
of, okay, got it. Yeah, totally. I mean, who wants to answer a wall of black and white text, yes or no's? That's never fun. So you're adding some visual interest there to make the process less painful.
Yeah, and the questions are done in a way that take the patient through a self-awareness journey, and sometimes they don't tell you a lot of issues that they have, but once they go through that, they understand that they have certain issues, and it gives them a score when you finish for their gums, their teeth, their bite and jaw joint, and their smile. So now they're even more engaged, more excited to come to the practice and figure out, why did I get this score for my smile?
Oh
I
yeah,
thought
this
I had a great
okay.
smile.
So okay, so wow, you're actually incorporating some level of a patient score system.
Yeah.
And is
And
that in the
there's a lot of
context?
studies that support gamification and the
Right.
engagement.
We see it all the time. We see it all the time. On the IT side of the house, we have all sorts of products that gamification is exact the term that they use to try to get the engagement up and in the process. So that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yes. So from the patient side, like, now you got them. They're engaged, they're more self-aware, they're ready to come to your practice. But also from the doctor's perspective, we wanted the doctor to have the latest literature on what's going on with the patient. So if there's new meds that could cause a false positive for bleeding gums, we're going to let you know. If the patient has a rare genetic disease that could affect the implant placement, we'll let you know, and this literature gets updated constantly. So the dentist has access to the latest literature on any of the positive answers for the patients.
And do you partner with some trusted third party to source that?
Yeah, so all this information comes from the COI Center.
Oh, you mentioned
And
Voice Center, right?
for
Okay.
those that know the COI Center in Seattle, it's an evidence-based teaching institution. And I've been through through that training. It's amazing. And what I love about John is he's very evidence-based. So he doesn't, even if something contradicts something that he taught you the year before, he's going to change it. And he's like, now the literature supports this. Forget what we did last year. This is how we're going to do it this year. Um,
Excellent. Excellent.
so yeah, I love that about the software, that it's constantly educating you, and you don't have to go Google it uh, or have the patient know more about their condition than you do. Because if someone has this rare disease, they know everything about it, and
Right, right.
sometimes you don't. So it's a great way of educating the dentist as well.
Excellent.
Um, and then once the patient is in the practice, we wanted to create a very good flow where it's consistent. The patient gets the same experience. And we have an app that allows the offices to collect all the patient photos in about 2 minutes. The photos would populate the software where needed. Same thing for the radiographs, the scans, all of it integrates directly into Oryx. And if you're doing the dentofacial exam, you have the smile, the repose photos. So any photos relevant to a section would show up. And then we go through the exam, and we created an exam that is very systematic. It takes about 7 minutes to complete an exam on any patient. I mean, when you first start, it takes you a bit longer, but it gets to 7 to 10 minutes for most people to do the exam. Again, it's all evidence-based. It goes, if you want to start doing, let's say, airway, you would have the exam and you would have all the photos of that in it. You finish your exam, you have the progress notes written for you, you have a patient report. So it's like the best 7 minutes you invest. And I'll show you what I mean. If you're doing your exam and the patient has a positive answer, it pops at you and it reminds you what the patient said in their literature. So you engage the patient a lot more, where you would say, I can see a fracture where you said that you get food packed on the lower right side. So they know that you're listening, and it's because it's constantly popping that dental history and medical history question to remind you that there's something relevant to this section. If you're logging in restoration, it's going to ask you about the size of the restoration. And the software automatically assigns a risk. And informs the patient about that risk. So if someone has a large decay, it's going to let them automatically know this tooth might need the root canal in the future. So even if you forget to tell them, they get that information in the report. Now the patient understands why I'm recommending a crown on number 31 and the filling on 29. It's because of that large restoration that creates a structural compromise.
So your platform, let me just hop in here. So this is the way that you're standardizing the care and filling the human gaps that you may be receiving from the inconsistent delivery of your associate. So while the associate's conducting the exam, they're populating the information, whether they're giving the real-time consult. I'm guessing at the end, does the patient get some report or examination assessment at the end? So in the event of the human gap or lapse in a communication of some factor, the report will add that completeness.
Exactly.
Wow, excellent! I love it.
So yeah, it's a commitment of 7 minutes, as I said, and I would have my assistant ask me, like prompt me for the questions. So we go, and it gets really fast, like any decay, any existing restorations, any issues with the restorations. And the patient is listening to this. And every time I finish an exam, my patient would go, I've never been examined like this before. And I think to myself, you probably were, you just didn't know it. Because we look and we know things, and the patient has no idea what we're doing. And then we go out and a treatment coordinator comes and says, this is what the doctor recommends. But now they're listening and they're seeing that it was a very thorough exam, and these are the recommendations. So the patient gets this report as soon as we're done with the exam. And offices deal with it differently. So you can share it electronically with the patient. Some offices would show it on the iPad, like give it to the patient so they have this intimate relationship and they're looking at it. And some actually print it out, put it in a really nice folder with the rest of the information that I'll show you in a minute. And
so you can adapt your business practice and your style with the patient. Now, because I come from the IT space, when I hear email, medical, anything, is that an encrypted email?
Yes, so it sends them a link to the portal, and they go to the encrypted portal, and they'll be able to view it. Some offices find that if they give the patient that report physically, these patients are going to go back to work, show it to coworkers, show it to friends, to family members.
It becomes a marketing asset.
Yeah, it becomes a huge source of referral for offices. The other thing that a lot of our users are doing, because like patients absolutely love this report, is put this on their website as a differentiating factor.
Right,
Because
for
it's
sure.
all branded with your office, with your
That
colors,
was my next
and
question. It's white labeled, obviously, right?
yes. And they would tell patients, this is the experience you get at our practice. So when patients are thinking about it, are looking for a dentist, they go to you, they go to your competitor, and everyone has the same website, like nice office, we use the latest technology, these are the procedures that we provide. And when they go to our users' websites, it's more about the patient. Like, when you come to us, this is the examination you're going to get. We're going to examine you in 4 different areas. We're going to look at the health factors that could be affecting you. You're going to get a report that shows you your condition. You're going to understand your risk factors, and we're going to work with you towards your oral health goals. And patients just love it.
That's excellent. Is there more? You have more?
Yeah, it also generates on the educational material, on the home care list. So what you want them to do at home. If it's something you sell in the practice, it automatically alerts the front. But otherwise, this is what they could take to their pharmacy. They're not calling you 10 minutes later. What was the brush? What was the toothpaste? They have all of it documented. And then you finish that 7-minute exam, you hit generate exam notes. All your notes are auto-generated. So that saves a lot of time. You can just add a couple of things, sign it. If you're referring that patient somewhere else, there's a portal to share that referral. So the whole thing communicates together. If you're doing a procedure on a patient, we have checklists for the procedures that make it super easy. If it's not something that you do on a regular basis, you also have procedure checklists to tell you what's the latest literature on doing that specific procedure.
There's
You can
a
create,
checklist you mentioned.
right. And you have power codes for your treatment. So it makes it really easy to treatment plan, endo, build up, and crown. You don't need to memorize any of the codes. It's one click. It just generates everything for you. And the same thing for any of the codes. Like in my office, it was only Olivia that knew every code. And if Olivia
Right.
is not there, we cannot treatment plan.
Right.
So we created it in a way where if you're doing scaling, you choose 2 teeth, it's going to put the right code. You change it to a full quadrant, it changes the code for you. You change the surfaces. So you can never send anything to the insurance company with the wrong code, because the system is automatically adjusting this for you.
So there's not a lot of administration to roll the software out and get it going. It's pretty out of the box, ready to go.
Yeah. And a lot of our users now, because of the shortage of office managers, have had to hire from outside the industry. And they're saying that they find it really easy to train someone from outside, just because there's not all the dental knowledge that they need to come with. They don't need
Right.
to know the codes. Like, for instance, here you change porcelain to PFM, it changes automatically the code for you.
Okay.
The system would know that this insurance downgrades, so it automatically calculates the fees of a downgraded restoration. It's all embedded.
Excellent.
And then once you treatment plan, it already divides your treatment plan to phases and visits, and you can say how long it takes you for each visit. So when the patient goes to the front, it becomes a very simple drag and drop into the appointment book. Really, really easy to manage. So again, you don't need someone very experienced in the front. You can create your blocks. This is where I'm going to put restorations, and they're just going to drag and drop these appointments. And these are the checklists I spoke about earlier. So you're able to see when I check out the patient, I want to verify that they paid. that they booked the next appointment, that we sent whatever we need to the pharmacy, that we gave them the report. You create your own protocols, and once it's all done, the appointment turns dark gray.
Okay.
You're
Yeah.
able to track your productivity as well on your scheduler, so lots of features built into it.
Yeah, that looks pretty feature complete for sure.
And then you have your dashboard. You're able to track patients that accepted the treatment, patients that accepted and did not schedule. And you're able to batch text these patients to say, we have an opening tomorrow, or we have a promo on this. So you're able to send campaigns and be very specific with those. Like, I want to send a campaign to patients that said, I'm interested in whitening. So you can so you can choose your audiences for any campaign.
That was my next question about the CRM aspect. So that's good. You have a marketing mechanism in there.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't know. It's getting a bit stuck. And I just wanted to show this. This is the iPad. If someone didn't complete the forms, they could do this in the practice. You could present the treatment plan in so many different ways. You can have your payment plan options as part of it. The patient could choose how they want to pay for their treatment, if they're going to opt for a payment option. Once you choose a treatment plan, as I mentioned previously, on the consent forms would auto-generate with the
So,
take numbers. So it's
so
just
this is the stuff that I like. This is so. Is the paradigm here giving the an iPad to the patient in the lobby with the portal, or is this the administrator side of the iPad kind of administering this for the patient?
so no, it's for the patient.
Okay,
And so you choose your patient from this list, and then you go to the secure view where once you hand it to the patient, where they cannot go
got it,
and look at other patients.
got it.
And you can ask them to either sign a treatment plan, sign a consent form. You could show them multiple treatment plans, and they could pick one. Once
Okay,
they activate it, they get on their consent forms. Or you could choose to, like if they say, I'm between these two plans, you click share, it shares it electronically with them. They could go home, think about it. And you
okay.
can choose.
So the model with the iPad in the office is the administrator starts on the iPad and then pulls up the patient, locks the iPad, hands it to the patient, and the patient can then interact with their plan and their account right there on the device.
Exactly.
Okay, all right,
So yeah, instead of having paper, like this is your treatment plan on a piece of paper, they sign
right,
it, scan it back in. We
right.
created an easy way to
I mean, a
have
lot
that
of times for me
communication.
personally, for example, I'm standing at a counter with somebody sitting at a desk with a computer screen perpendicular to me, so I can't see it, but they're kind of communicating verbally, or they're printing some sheet out and putting it in front of me, and I see the experience here is kind of more. It's future forward with the iPad that starts with the administrator and then presents the iPad to the patient.
And this allowed a lot of our users to move a lot of the administrative tasks to the back, where the assistant is going over, this is the treatment plan that you discussed. Are you happy with it? Yes. Can you please sign it? Are you going for payment options, or are you going to prepay?
Right,
And then
right.
they can take the payment in the back. Do you want to schedule your next appointment? Let's sign your consent forms. So it makes that part a bit easier. It also like has a camera, so you can take photos of their ID, any other forms, upload it into the system. Um,
All right.
really avoiding papers.
Right, right. So the iPad in that context can actually be used as an intake tool too.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, and then from the practice perspective, looking at your production, your collections, patient coming in, did they schedule their next appointment? Did they schedule their next treatment, their next hygiene? Any of our reports, you can you see it as a dashboard, but then you can drill down very deeply into it. You can create your own report, you can create your own dashboards and decide how you want to display it. So we have kind of our business intelligence tool that is used by multi-location, larger practices where we have the data warehouse and they can decide. A lot of the larger organizations want to keep the reporting secret in a way. So they could go and create their own, decide how they want this to look across their locations. And they have access to a lot of data points to query that.
And being a cloud-born product, this is really right up those practices at multi-locations. This is really right up their alley.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Excellent. And it's way more cost effective the way we have it. They were investing a lot in getting data scientists to do this on external tools like Tableau, Power BI. And when we brought it internally, it became way more efficient for them. And it allows anyone with very little knowledge to create these dashboards.
Excellent.
Yeah, I gave you a good overview.
Is that
Happy to
it?
answer
Yeah.
any questions.
Sorry, I hope I didn't grill you too much. And I hope I don't sound like a fanboy, but when I see a well-made product, I do get excited about it. What's the buying experience like? Do they is it self-onboarding? Is it all web-driven on your website, oryxdentalsoftware.com? Does it require a sales call, an account manager? What's that like?
So typically, most people would need a demo to understand if it's going to fit their specific needs, how it's going to work for their practice. And after the demo, they typically go with us most of the time. And then we assign them to an onboarding specialist. And this is the decision of, are you migrating your current data? Do you want to migrate everything? Some come to us with 25 years worth of data, and they're
Right.
like, only import the last 5, the last 7, or
Right.
my data was really bad in this software. Just get the patient demographics. So we work with them on that. And there's one-on-one trainings that happen with the team. So we schedule all of that. We schedule some videos that they watch on their own. So someone is really holding your hand until you're live with the software. And then the first couple of weeks that you're live, you get your own assigned agents. So you're not going through regular support.
Okay.
It's the same person that knows what's like the conversion, everything that happens with you that would help you.
So you're really
going.
holding their hand through the onboarding, setup, data importing, and kind of ongoing until they're ready to kind of get going on their own.
Yes.
Excellent. And what about price? Is your price on your website? Is it a sales call? Is it standard pricing?
No,
What's
actually,
your price
we're very
model?
transparent about this. There's nothing to hide. So everything is on our website. For the full product, it's $5.99 a month. We priced it very fairly. As a dentist, I felt that you get really nickeled and dimed, and every time
Yeah.
there's something, it's an add-on. So we made it very transparent. That's the price that you get per location.
Per location. Okay. $5.99 per location. How about a long-term lock-in? Is there a long-term agreement, or is it a month-to-month?
So we start with a year agreement just because of all the effort we put up front
That's fair. Yeah. Right.
with the offices. And after that, they could go on a month-to-month.
That's really fair. That's really fair. In fact, I wish we had more vendors who viewed it that way. So great. And what about your roadmap? Is there anything exciting? Any exclusive news that we can share here for our viewers, or any what's to come from the product?
So it's constantly evolving. We have an amazing group of users that keep giving us feedback. We're doing a lot more in terms of automation. So we have a new integration with Vine for the insurance process, and we're automating a huge chunk of that. We're hoping that you complete a procedure, and on the next parts of attaching, looking at the codes, sending to the insurance company would happen automatically.
Oh,
So
wow.
this
Okay.
is one of our big features coming up, and yeah, more on the automation side and more on the voice AI.
So, and as far as features and updates, do they just are they just spoon fed to the product? Do you send an announcement? Hey, there's a minor release or major release coming. How does that kind of work?
So there's releases happening almost daily.
Right.
The minor ones, we don't usually mention it until they get the newsletter. The big ones, we let them know ahead of time. And there's usually videos on how to use it. Um, right now, it's easy because the core product is done. So nothing really affects your day to day. Everything that we're adding is a great addition that people are
Okay.
excited about and they can learn slowly. But yeah, we do a lot more when it's something that could affect their day-to-day flow.
Okay. Okay. Great. That's one of the benefits in many cases of cloud-born software is when something's broken, it can be fixed kind of in real time, inconsequential to software updates in the traditional sense. Sometimes when there's a major update or major release, we as the IT department for many businesses, we sometimes hear the grumbling when something has changed or there's a steep learning curve to a new feature or changed features. So when it's going to be something like that, it sounds like you communicate that ahead of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, great. And how
And then
about
people love that they don't have to update their software. Like, get
right,
that
right. Well, that's
floppy
one of the
disk.
benefits of cloud-born software for sure. And just before we go, HIPAA. I mean, of course, it almost is probably trite to say this, but you're in full HIPAA compliance, and everybody in that regard is going to be satisfied.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're HIPAA compliant in the US, PIPEDA compliant in Canada. We're the only software that has a two-way authentication when someone is trying to log in from outside the office. So we take security very, very seriously.
Good. Multi-factor authentication where applicable.
Mhm.
Good. All right. Is there anything else that we missed, or any points or specifics that you might want to mention?
I think you covered it all. So thank
Yeah.
you.
Excellent. Excellent. I really appreciate it. Where would you like our viewers to go from this video? We have your website up, but is there any social media or anything else that you'd like us to share?
Yeah, we're on all social media, so you can communicate with us on hello@oryxdentalsoftware.com. If you like what you saw, you can book a demo, and it would be more personalized to your needs, to your office. And I really hope you liked it.
Excellent, excellent. We hope you come back. Thank you so much for participating in our project. This is EVERNET Reviews, where we will spotlight vendors and products and services that we either see in our client environments or where we don't see, and we think that it might bring value to our clients. Again, I'm Eric Buhrendorf, the CEO of EVERNET Consulting. We're an IT company servicing professional service businesses all over the country. We have a pretty big dental vertical client base. So if you need any support in your dental practice, give us a call and go to our website, evernetco.com, and talk to us. I'm just going to make a slight disclaimer here that I first want to thank Dr. Rania for sharing. And I hope that you guys all learned something. EVERNET is an independent business and IT services consulting company and does not offer any warranty or guarantee of the products or services discussed today. Any relationships formed by and between EVERNET and its clients are wholly separate from any formed with our guests or their representative companies. Please leave any comments below if you have any questions. We'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback. And if you have a product or service that you'd like us to review, please go to evernet.tv and sign up to be a guest. And finally, let's see. I think I said everything at this point. I'm your host, EVERNET Reviews, Eric Buhrendorf, and that's it. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Dr.